Before I even get into this story, I need to say that talking about something that is terrorist accented, oriented, any involvement with terrorist activities doesn't instantly make someone racist because they're associating it with Middle Eastern accented names, Middle Eastern descendant people, or Muslims, or anything like that. That doesn't make you racist. I mean, what I'm going to be discussing here is quite a bit of racism, but there's going to be a lot of fear involved in that. There's various reasons for these stuff to be happening in the era that we live in. Recently, companies vowed to get rid of hate speech, vowed to come against terrorist activities and crack down on terrorism and social networking with terrorism, and a lot of people have feared that this infringes their free rights. People can't talk about this stuff without being labeled racist against Muslims, which is silly because you can't be racist against Muslims. They're not a race. But that's how a lot of people label other people. They call them racist bigots, they're homophobic, xenophobic. It doesn't matter if you talk about something and you honestly have something to bring up to discuss. If somebody can't counter your argument or somebody has an issue with it, it's just instantly you're a bad guy because you're talking about it. So I wanted to put that out there and try to keep this in perspective as we talk about this. So Sony banned a user by the name of Jihad Khalid Al-Mafada. Pretty bad at pronouncing names. Sorry, Jihad. Anyways, this is a pretty common name for individuals that come or descend from the Middle East. It wouldn't exactly be a common name in America. Now, you might instantly raise your hand and say, that's racist. You could be named anything you want in America, and that's absolutely true. But let's just try to keep it in perspective here. That is why I said what I said in the intro. So from here on out, if anything is going to be considered the whole meme, that's racist, that meme, please just keep it to yourself. Honestly, we're not trying to be racist here. I'm just trying to discuss why this stuff is happening. You might be wondering why I'm prefacing this so much. It's because not only this individual has been banned, but 9,800 users with PSN accounts that include the word jihad in their handles have been banned. Yeah, holy fucking shit. So you might say, whoa, Sony must have fixed this, right? Sony backpedaled, right? No, not exact. So according to a report on GameSpot, Jihad Khalid received an email from Sony informing him that he had been banned from PSN because of his jihad username. He posted on Twitter proof that he had been locked out of his account and digital services and games, even offline. This is a big lesson to be learned and used because if you deal with online situations, you have to understand that these online institutions, they can lock you out of everything even if you're offline. I've said this multiple times before, and a lot of people think, oh, well, if you sign on and you agree to their terms and services, then you deserve it. But did this guy know that just having the name Jihad would get him banned? His name, his literal name was Jihad, okay? So he got an email. Sony offered Jihad to change his username because Jihad is a bannable offense just for having the name Jihad. An option where users have wanted for years. Unfortunately, Sony reviewed his requests for multiple names, revoked his offer, and informed him that his ban was permanent. So they basically gave him a giant middle finger after he requested several different names. Sweet, Sony. Great fucking job, man. You guys aren't really fucking up at all, are you? So he took to social media, posted on Reddit, and talked about this. And eventually, Game Informer had discovered the 9,800 users that had PSN accounts banned just because Jihad was in their handle. There are several number of outlets that tried to help this individual get his account back. So he did get his account back. PlayStation UK gave him an account, a new username with all of his stuff tied to it, with the exception of several things. So the changes do disrupt the enjoyment of the console. He said, quote, I was offered to change my PSN ID, but it did come with its cost. He wrote on Reddit under the name iJihad, or E-Jihad. My trophies will have syncing problems and could disappear. Friends are gone. Social communication is deleted. There is no other way around it. The other interesting thing is he made the change from iJihad to just G in 2 seconds over a phone call. He said it's not rocket science, but many technical improvements are needed. And he noted that the trophies are at 0 now after syncing. Can you imagine having a PlayStation account for over 10 years, having all these trophies, all these great things you strive for, and then you get banned because they're terrorists being literal fucking assholes, killing people, shooting up gay clubs, blowing up cafes, blowing up marathons, and just overall being fucking assholes because of in their name of religion. And you might say, holy shit, Proto, that's real xenophobic and real racist of you. But excuse me, please remember, I'm not saying every single person out there from the Middle East is a terrorist. I'm only talking about the incidents that have happened recently to cause institutions like this to change their policies and stop individuals from communicating with terrorist networks. Remember, it was just recently that a lot of organizations came together and vowed to stop terrorist activities and put in more stringent resolutions, try to stop communication between terrorists. This is probably one of those things. You can't have jihad as your name. It's pretty blatantly obvious out in front if that's what you were doing. At the same time, that would raise a giant flag like, huh, this guy's name is Jihad. Maybe he's going to commit jihad. I don't know. That seems really blatantly obvious and silly that someone would do that. But at the same time, some of those individuals that have Middle Eastern descents, they come from the Middle East, they have names like that. And you can't flip out like that. I don't know. I can't tell you how many times I met a Muhammad when I was deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq. Can't tell you. And I've talked to many of them. And do you know what many of them say? You know what many of them want? They just want the life where they can just sit down, play video games, dick around, and not have to worry about terrorism and shit like that. Just like us. It's just the unfortunate individuals who take things too literal. The individuals who take things too far. They get brainwashed. They get duped into doing things. And now Sony has to deal with that. Sony has to conform to that. They have to figure out how to stop terrorists from communicating on their network. Otherwise, they're just contributing to the problem. As you all know, jihad means a holy war. It's a term against those who do not believe in Allah. And unfortunately, this is one of those moments where Sony has to combat that. How do they combat that? Unfortunately, they take the stance of a zero-tolerance policy. If you have jihad in your name, you're going to get banned. Eventually, you'll be reported. You probably might not even be able to enter it in as just a username now, maybe even potentially offline. If you're not even going to take your account online and you just make the name Jihad, Muhammad Jihad, who knows? You wouldn't even be able to enter that in. It might say a banned word or something like that. And stuff like this is happening due to the simple fact that terrorist activities are picking up, and the world's nations, the world's leaders are coming to these companies where these terrorists have been known to use social interaction like Twitter, Facebook, Sony's online network, the Xbox online network, hell, maybe even Nintendo's Miiverse, and they're saying, look, we need you to look out for these words. We need you to look out for these individuals. We need you to fix your service up, you know. And just recently here on YouTube, they updated their policies. Many websites are updating their policies to get rid of terrorism, to try and combat this terrorism in any way that they possibly can. And unfortunately, it does have its innocent casualties for it. I think it's absolute shit that they couldn't give this guy back his account properly, as he did nothing wrong. Unless the FBI was investigating him, unless he was on one of those lists, I don't think he should be punished like this. Who knows? Maybe he wasn't even any relation to any terrorist type cell, any terroristic person. You can't just lump all people into that boat just because they come from the Middle East. I know many people who came from the Middle East that just wanted to come to America, that just wanted to become developers, software developers, game developers, and things like that. They had no affiliation with terrorism whatsoever. And it's really depressing that Sony had to take this stance. I'm not shaming Sony. I'm not saying Sony is doing something wrong, but I do feel that what they're doing could be done a different way and a way more efficient way than fucking over almost 10,000 users. Jesus Christ, man. 10,000 users might be a drop in the bucket, but it's still really, really fucking shitty when you're one of those users and you just got banned because your name matches up with what happens to be what terrorists like to do, commit jihad. So I feel sorry for this guy. I feel bad for this guy. And if anyone out there wants to label me a racist bigot, go ahead. I don't fucking care. You're a fucking asshole if that's what you want to boil this down to. Just some plain and simple racism. It's way more than that, and there's tons of news articles to back up what I'm saying. But hey, you know what? You want to be a closed-minded fucking idiot? That's your own possibility. That's your own ability to do so. Here on the internet, it's pretty much freedom of speech. Anything goes. So you have yourselves a great time and have yourselves a great day. I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out. Leave a comment in the section below if you think this is bullshit, if you think this is justified, and tell me why you think this is justified. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, do you have a good reason for why you think it should be handled this way as opposed to some other method? I don't really have a solution. I do know that terroristic cells do need to be stopped, but I'm not the director of the FBI. I don't know how to do that without infringing on someone's rights. So it really is dependent on those people who have abilities that are beyond my comprehension at the current time. Thanks for watching, and as always, good gaming, and God bless.